Okay, we're back. Part two.
Part two, remix.
Part two. The remix. Wow.
Oh,
I mean, I don't think I'd be very good at making music, mate.
I like to think that I could sing or be a pop star of some kind, but no,
Pop? Would you go for pop?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think I am. It sounds. Oh God. I've become the person that I once despised, but I've got like really into like girl pop, K-pop, that kind of thing. Doja Cat, Megan Thee Stallion, Blackpink. I'm obsessed with it. I cannot get enough of it, and it's like I have a pretty eclectic music taste as it is. Really enjoy pop punk, kind of like grunge stuff like that. But yeah, at the minute, Doja Cat has my heart.
What is going on? First of all, you were like what was it? An Ollie power builder.
Olympic power builder turned girl pop band.
Sounds like one of those weird success stories you find on like Reddit or the Huntington Post or something. You know what I mean? Like you're going to be on BBC News next week. It's going to be that title just right at the bottom of the screen. Everyone's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, listen to Harry's story.
Yeah. Oh, like I've hit a lot of my training PBs and stuff. But right, the back room, I will 9 times out of 10 be listening to Untouched by the Veronicas. And that was exposed to me when I was 9 years old on Disney Channel. And that's kind of the extent of my music history.
Wow. And I guess you're going to lift big.
Yeah. Oh God, it's insane. Such a bop. It's such a bop. I understand a lot of people take a lot of pride in their kind of training tunes and things like that. And some people are like, oh, I can't lift if it's not this certain song. But I think having trained in a lot of gyms where I haven't had control over the situation has led to be in a position where it's like your training playlist isn't everything. And it's like, if you need that, then maybe that's something you should work on. Like everyone has a PR song. I get it. Like have it. It's great. Like if you need it, get those headphones out, do whatever you have to take. But if it is an integral part of your lifting, that if this song is not playing at this certain time, I'm going to miss my lift, then I think there needs to be some sort of reflection going on. Because it's, you lift in silence as a weightlifter. So if you're not able to kind of push those distractions away, you can hear a pin drop in that room. It shits you up first time. It's so quiet. But if you need that, then I think you should reflect a little bit on kind of your approach to your lifting, because it's not going to be there in the competition, sadly.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not to say that when you land that power snatch as the bass drops, it's not like the most chef kiss.
Oh, I like it when you like punched in the bottom of the snatch, right? Literally as it drops. Oh, it's game over. If you're able to time so that.
Good. Yeah. The stars have aligned.
Yeah. And everybody knows it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody knows it. They see it happening even from the corner of their eye. They're like, okay.
Stay away.
Okay.
I'm in the mood.
Yeah, he came not to fuck spiders, you know, he came to fuck shit up. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Like with the songs, like you need focus, and if you rely on something else, especially with tunes, you know, like you can't do that, especially with the sport of Olympic weightlifting, when, like you said, it's going to be silent. And I even go a little bit further. I don't like people walking in front of you, right? However, if they're like, I'm talking 2 meters in front of you, don't fucking do that. That's dumb.
Oh yeah, no, that's stupid.
But if they're on the other side of the room and things are moving around, right, you're just gonna have to do your shit. If everyone's got to stop moving so you can lift a barbell, I'm like, fucking pull your thumb out your ass off. Like, you're gonna have to do some work.
Yeah, like there's a kind of current thing on Instagram at the minute where people have lost their shit at people who've like walked in front of their camera as they're filming.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of like, if you're training in a public gym, like commercial or any kind of like performance facility, where there are just other people around you, like it's busy, it's gonna happen. And I think to get pissed off at someone who got in the middle of your video, that you're like, it doesn't sit right with me. It's kind of like, it comes across as quite entitled.
Oh yeah.
I get it in the sense of, so gyms, like weightlifting clubs almost, that I have trained at previously, people are kind of aware of cameras, and having spent some time now training in general, I'm kind of aware of where people have set up cameras in the gym, and I'll go around them. Like if I have to walk, I'll wait for people to lift before I then go off and do whatever I need to do. But people have lost their shit at people who are just existing in, like, even me included, like during sessions where I'm like well and deep into a peak for a competition, there's something like 120 on the bar that I have failed maybe once beforehand, and I'm trying to get in the zone, and there's someone just stood in front of me. In those instances, I was definitely wrong to snap, but I think that was a moment in which you kind of then reflect and think, oh no, I was the arsehole. Like, I don't need to do a whole Reddit, am I the arsehole? But like, I was definitely the dick in that situation. But like, it's like you said, if someone's well ahead, like other side of the room when they're walking, that shouldn't be enough to throw you off your lift. If that's the case, again, reflect on your lifting in general. But I get being thrown off if someone stepped onto your platform as you're like mid snatch, because that's both terrifying for you and soon to become terrifying for them if they get crushed by it. So it's, I think there's safe, and then there's like just generally people being ignorant of the space, but then some people take it way too far, and it's like people need to like, I need to have 4 meters in front of me where nothing comes in and nothing can distract me. And it's like, well, no, because that's never going to be replicated on the platform. There'll always be people talking. Like, you don't always have absolute silence. It's one of those things, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think entitlement is the word to use. And you just got to be considerate, right? Of the amateur, being considerate of someone who's taking it a little bit more serious than amateurs, and then also the other way around, in the sense of not everybody knows and not everybody fucking cares. Right? Exactly. They're just there to have a good time. They're here to improve their fitness a little bit and learn a couple more skills, right? And like, okay, you're trying to get 1 more kilo. It's like, they don't give a fuck, man.
No, that's irrelevant to them.
It's irrelevant, exactly. You know, like, and we're all equal, right? Whether you're going to Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, or you're just learning a PVC snatch.
It's like, who are you to decide that you are so important that everyone needs to stop to wait for you to lift before they carry on? Like, it's so entitled.
Yeah, who the fuck do you think you are? Yeah.
Yeah, like, no, absolutely not. Like, just, if someone's doing it and you're like, hey, look, I'm just letting you know, I'm filming some of my lifts because I'm a remote athlete. My coach likes to watch them back. It's important that I am able to have those videos. Communicate that. But if you're getting pissed off because you haven't said anything and they're just walking in front of a camera, you've got a fucking clue. It's just, if they haven't got a clue and you haven't communicated that, whose fault is that? Obviously yours. So it's
all comes back to communication, right, man? Like, you know, poor communication just leads to fucking problems down the line. Like, absolutely. You just got to voice some things, even if you're like, hey, this might not make any sense, but this is how I'm feeling. You know what I mean? Just because you might come across a little bit of an asshole that day or a little bit off or something, right? Just communicate it. Like, for example, I'm coaching a class, right? And you feel the vibes off and you ask somebody, most of the time, they don't say anything, right? And it's the coach's job to be able to, okay, the vibe's off because I can feel it, right? I'm now going to adapt to be able to provide for that. However, if you can literally just turn around and I'll flip it on the other end, I'm not doing too great, right? A team just to let you know, such and such and such. You don't have to go into details, tell them your fucking nan's cat's died or something, or do re mi or something like that. Just be like, hey team, I'm a little bit off my game today. If I come across a little bit weird or off, it's not personal. And if I overcross a line, tell me.
Yeah.
It takes you 2 seconds. I've just done it there. 12 seconds. I think having the humility to just say, hey, look, we're not perfect. I'm certainly not perfect. We all fucked up to the position that we're in now. And just be like, this is the way it is today. I was like, great, okay, we'll play with those cards today,
And it's that level of communication as well, and kind of self-awareness.
Self-awareness, man.
Kind of what helps with coaching almost, because it's like, if you have that direct line of, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed today, it makes sense when things aren't going the way they are, because you could be like, well, this lift looks technically correct, but you're bailing it at the bottom. Why?
Yeah.
It can almost be more frustrating then for them, because they're trying to play off the fact that they're fine when they're not. Mm-hmm. And then the missed lifts just kind of add up. It's more straws on the camel's back, and and it leads to a breaking point then. But if you get it out the way, you can adapt it and be like, right, okay, well, if you're feeling shit today, your CNS is probably fatigued. Let's lower the training volume or intensity, and let's just get those good lifts in, get that feel good feeling, and let's have a good day. Let's end the day the way we would like tomorrow to start.
End on a W.
Rather than pushing yourself to the point that it's like, I've missed all of my lifts. What the fuck is going on? I now feel even worse.
Yeah. The mental wins.
I think that's a massive part of weightlifting that people tend to neglect. I feel like the grind has been so romanticized, and it's like, if you're not perceived to be working hard, then it's almost like you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, because in the long game, which I think every athlete who's in weightlifting is playing, it's not a sprint. It's never been a sprint. It's, you just want to, you just kind of want to outlast your competitors. Yeah. So it's like, it doesn't make sense to push through. Like, there's days when you can push through a tough day, fair, like that is expected. But days when it's like, I literally cannot snatch 70% without crumbling, there needed to be something addressed before that point. And I think going forward, then, it's not, this is an off session, this is something that we need to just address. I think is what helps people stay in the sport longer.
Yeah. Adapt on the dance floor, It's like, oh no, back's not feeling good, knee's not feeling good, I'm just not warming up. That's a great one, right? Like, I'm just not warming up, I'm not loosening up, and I'm doing the same routine I normally do. It's like, oh great, okay, cool, don't worry about it, don't worry about what's programmed. It's like, oh no, but I have to. It's like, your life does not depend on this shit, man.
No. Like, I have 100% pushed through sessions I probably shouldn't have. Like, yeah. It's like those, and you always end up in a worse position that you started in, because it's like, you come in, you're warming up, my knees are on fire, they hurt, I cannot stand up a squat without wincing, and it's like, I would benefit right now from some mobility, from some stretching, general just kind of light work to kind of, even if I postpone the session, but you push through, you don't hit the numbers you need to hit, and it's like, fuck. And particularly in my experience, it's always been when we're like maybe 2 weeks out from comp, and we're going through like the maxes and stuff like that, and as you're kind of reaching the peak of the super compensation curve and you're supposed to feel like shit, I'm just like, why do I feel like shit? It's like, well, you're supposed to feel like shit, but you then just take everything so personally, and that then is the red flag. It's step back. You don't, fair enough, but if you're a full-time athlete, you also have the time to prioritize your recovery, which as a full-time student is often very difficult for me.
Yes.
But that kind of level of stepping back, okay, this isn't going well today, I'm just gonna have a day where I try and feel good in what I'm doing, is probably going to do more benefit down the line than missing a 123 snatch in training a week out from comp. But yeah, that's the super compensation curve is a killer every time. I'm like, I feel like shit. Why do I feel like shit? This is why you feel like shit. No, it doesn't make sense. Why do I feel like shit?
You get used to that, like, you know, progression. You get used to that grind, you know, and you're like, okay, I'm in. But with me, it's the other way around. Like, if I start feeling good, I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? Like, my back's not hurting. You know,
70% moved like an empty bar. I think we're in uncharted territory.
Yeah. I think we fucked up, guys. I think I've not been training. I was like, no, Alex, that's good. It's like, no. I think I fucked up. I need to do a triple day to catch up. You're like, Alex, come on, lad. Like, this is a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and say the mental aspect, in my opinion, and also in my experience of seeing people just coaching for years, right, is the biggest factor, especially in weightlifting. Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody brings in stress into the gym. They bring in something, anxiety, whatever the fuck they bring in, and they keep it with them while they're weightlifting. They don't put it into the barbell and then it kind of disintegrates. No, they keep it in their head. Oh, it's game over. You're not lifting that bar today.
No. And it sucks life out of everyone around you as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Great point, man.
That training environment, it needs it. I've done this. So me and my partner Sinead train a lot together. And we kind of have this general rule at the minute where she comes into the gym after work. I meet her there. We write in our training diaries. We write out the plan for the day. We talk about her day in work as we're doing this. The second that those lifters go on, regardless of what's happened in work that day, we stop talking about it. That is now compartmentalized. It's got nothing to do. You now have a job to do in your training. If you're really fatigued, we'll adapt the training to that. But more often than not, that kind of this leaves the second I put my lifters on has been quite useful in getting through sort of stressful days, because it just changes the stimulus entirely. It's like I'm a new person now. I've taken off my work shoes and put on to like the stuff that I enjoy doing. And it's kind of like that, having a shower at the end of the day to wash away the day. It kind of has that effect. And it's seen quite positive kind of outcomes in the training. But I think that's a skill that's taken a long time to kind of perfect. And it's like you say, if you bring that in and you still have it when you put your lifters on, that bar is not going up. And I think having taken a lot of time to prioritize the kind of psychological side of the sport is what has helped us enable to do that. There are some days where I just cannot push through. I had a pretty shit. I got rejected from my final med school. I'd had a really shit exam, like all in the space of like 3 days. And that third day of training I was peaking for bucks, and I had to snatch like 123. And I didn't get above 115 because I took that into the session with me. No matter what I did, I could not push through. But that doesn't mean to say that I'm never not going to be able to push through anything like that similar in the future. I've learned from it, absolutely. But that was just a day where I brought the kind of riff-raff of the day into my session. And I think having seen that, we then focused on Sinead and her work and kind of compartmentalizing that going forward. And that's been a real help with training in general.
Yeah, for sure. And it helps put things into perspective as well, you know, like, so I'm a massive believer of we need to be able to sit down and talk about things, right? You need to be able to do it with yourself, and you need to be able to do it with other people, whoever the fuck that is, whether that's a counselor, a therapist, a best mate, your mom, doesn't matter, right? Your fucking dog, whatever. But I'm also a massive believer of sometimes we can dig ourselves a hole that we don't need to chuck ourselves in.
Absolutely.
Right? Of like, oh, let's talk about it. I was like, we don't need to right now. Okay. There's always going to be shit. There's always going to be fucking shit we're getting through, right? Always. That's just life, unfortunately. But sometimes if you just are able to, okay, cool. I put my lifters on now. That's gone to the side. I'm in the gym. I'm lifting. I'm doing CrossFit, step class, swimming, whatever they're doing, right? Going for a run. And then you finish and assess your thoughts after that. Because it's either gone away and you're like, okay, cool. You now understand how you were feeling, because sometimes it's a little bit blurry, right? The lines are a little bit blurred. Or third, you're just like, oh, I know what to do now. And you didn't sit down and dig a hole and discuss with someone. No. All you did was fucking worked out. And now you know how to do it.
And it's also the level of kind of empowerment that comes from that. It's perhaps before training, you felt like, oh, I don't feel like I can get through this. I don't feel like I can do it. And then you have a really good training session where you perform well and maybe like unexpectedly hit a PB. It's like you're a completely different person then coming out of that. And you're like, well, no, I did this. I didn't think I could do this. And now let's bring that into the other aspect of my life that I'm currently struggling with. It's that kind of going through shit and then coming out clean. Like, it's a massive boost for just everyday life things.
Yeah.
Like if you've been through worse, then you can always just kind of be like, okay, no, I know how to handle this. I've had it like really tough training sessions that have taxed me in ways that other things haven't. I am now able to deal with this thing in my life.
100%, man.
And it's just very empowering in general.
Fuck yeah, we're building robust humans, man, you know?
Yeah.
Be building badass motherfuckers, as I call it.
Absolutely. It seems to be that training is either a crutch or a catapult. And it's either a crutch that you need to lean on to get through a tough time, or it's just going to catapult you forward. And I think there's no that 20 minutes to maybe 2 hours that you spend will determine how you then attack the rest of your day, your life in general, your problems, your truth, trials, and tribulations. It's it's
the confidence as well, man.
Yeah,
for me. And I think there's a big difference between confidence and arrogance. And you usually find that someone who is physically aware of their capability, right? They've done a little bit of sport, they work out, they do yoga or whatever.
Yeah.
They've got a lot more confidence in their own ability physically and mentally, and they're not as arrogant.
Yeah.
It's just purely just a guess, like it's a hypothesis, right? I don't know whether this is actually true, but this is just observation. And I find it fascinating how physical exertion and putting yourself through that physical barrier can do that to someone's mind. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's the aspect of struggling.
Oh yeah,
because it's very humbling. It really is. Like you change something, you get kind of. I mean, I've never really struggled with kind of the arrogance and physical exercise and things like that. I've always been someone who's like really lacked self-esteem when it comes to trying new things. But having seen people I grew up with who have had a lot of arrogance within sport are people who just generally did well because it almost like they'd never struggled with it. Yeah. They picked it up naturally. They did it. They like it. The kind of football scene springs to mind. They were very fast. They were very quick. That kind of led to them being selected for things because of how fast and quick they were. But the training that came alongside of it, they picked up quite well because they were coordinated. And it's that lack of struggle almost bred this arrogance that no, I am the greatest thing that's walked this earth.
Yeah.
Whereas for those of us that maybe were less athletically inclined, who have struggled to get to where we are, it very much, or even just in general, just struggling with a training block that's pushing you, it's humbling, and you're kind of like, oh no, like I know my place and where I fit in this. I am not the greatest person that's ever lived, but I'm also not the shittest person that's ever lived.
Yeah.
It's a happy middle ground, and that kind of, and it's like you said, the kind of confidence side of it is so much more different to arrogance. And I think that's something that bringing into your training is important. Like having the confidence to approach the heavyweights and being exposed to them is going to have the best competition outcome. But going into that competition thinking, I'm going to snatch that because I'm the strongest person here, is not necessarily going to breed a very pleasant athlete or competitor to be around. And the likelihood is if you miss that snatch, you're going to be like, oh, well, it was because of this. And there's no accountability then. So it's an interesting balance to try and figure out.
Yeah, it is.
I think I tend to err on the side of debilitating self-esteem issues, but I think we could all use more confidence in our lifting. There's no harm to come from it.
Yeah, I think so, and I'm fascinated of how to do that and how to help people achieve that. You know, like I know myself, and I know whenever I'm like fuck you, it's a fuck you to myself. You know what I mean? It's a fuck you to the bitch inside my head that tells me like I can't do it, right? And I should have stayed at home and fucking whatever the fuck it was, right? So that's it's literally between me and me. And whenever I step foot in that arena, it is literally a clone of me, and I'm smacking myself in the face. So, but I know that's me, and I'm fascinated of like, okay, how do I get into someone's head, understand them? Not by asking them, because that's a really vulnerable conversation, and a lot of the times
Absolutely.
that's not my right to have that conversation, right? If they've come in for a bit of a stress release, right, I can't sit them down like a fucking therapist and be like, right, tell me everything that's happened to you and all this. I was like, no, it's not my right. I got to be able to decipher it without knowing the code, essentially, right? And then be like, okay, I want you to do this today. And then you're going to take that win, and over time, those small wins end up accumulating into that massive confidence boost.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could not agree more with that. It's as a coach, almost like sometimes you do play therapist, but other times it is very much it's that quick decision making. We don't currently have the time to get into this. Because maybe they've only got like an hour session. But it's like you want them to be able to have the kind of psychological benefits of the exercise without having to get into it immediately, because A, you're either not a trained psychiatrist, or B, just want to see the physical, the kind of reap the physical and psychological benefits of getting them through the session. I find that a lot of the kind of confidence side of it is very much a balance, and they're more hard, and like you would like someone to tipped not necessarily in your favor, and it's I think then it's the kind of the coach's job to be like, this might be how you feel, but this is not the case. I've always said weightlifting is a sport which you cannot trust your body.
Yeah.
If something feels like it's moving like shit, you may watch it back and it's the nicest bloody snatch you've ever done. And with that being said, it's like you're like, I'm moving slow, I'm moving like shit, this isn't working, I don't feel good. And you watch it back and you're like, this is an athlete. Like I bestow upon you weightlifting. It just and for that reason, it's like if you're unable to trust the way that you're moving, why should you trust yourself to bring your session down? And I'm very lucky to be at a point in my training where I'm just like, well, no, I might feel like shit, but that's not necessarily the case. And I've kind of become quite blasé with how I feel about those sorts of things. It's very much, it is what it is. I just need to get through it.
It is what it is.
Yeah. But I understand that particularly athletes who have only just gotten into weightlifting, they almost become a slave to that confidence balance, and days when it's tipped in their favor, they have brilliant days, and days when it's not, it's the end of the world. And I have been that person. I didn't like being that person. And I think kind of stress-free training enabled me to get out of that, which I know that not everyone is able or privy to. But that definitely helped me in the long run, is that kind of training through lockdown. I was very lucky to have stuff to be able to do. But that stress-free environment, I mean, I destroyed my parents' patio. It was rubble. Days when it rained, I brought it into the conservatory, and my mum went, if you drop that fucking bar and you smash one of the tiles, it is over for you. What did I do? I dropped the fucking bar, I smashed one of the tiles. So it's like, they were fuming. But that kind of stress-free of like, it was lovely weather we had, it was just outside. I was able to get away from that confidence balance dictating how my session went. And now I think I'm in a better position for having had that time. Almost away from coaching entirely. I got on with it. Like it was definitely a positive thing for me as an athlete. And I tried to refrain from like, I know lockdown was difficult for different reasons for everyone. But I will be grateful for it in the sense of it gave me that time. And I think because of it, I now have a better chance of longevity.
Yeah, I think you've learnt yourself a little bit more, right? You've had that space where you've kind of sat in a room or whether it's metaphorically speaking or not, and it's just you, and you have those conversations with just you, and you be able to decipher all that information that the body's telling you and also the mind's telling you, and you're like, okay, I need to figure out this shit because there's no one else around. And there's a quote by Dave Spatzer from Cal Strength, and he says, weightlifting isn't character building, it's character revealing. I love it, and I do believe it, right? It's like, okay, what have you got? And sometimes you're gonna feel like shit. Great, it is what it is. Me and a good mate of mine, we got a saying of, I paid for worse. So whatever happens, it's like, don't worry about it, I paid for worse. And it's that mental shift of like, you might feel like you've been hit by a fucking train right now, but you're going to come in and move the bar because you're going to take the mental win, you're going to take the physical win. I'm not saying you need to max out and push through and break yourself and all that type of stuff, but sometimes you have to adapt on the fly and then just ignore some stuff. I'm like, you're gonna have to get things done. Like,
even if it's you get in and you've just put 50 kilos on the bar and you snatch it and you catch it and you're like, oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
That immediately, you're out of that mindset. You've just gone, oh, that was actually quite nice. It's a confidence boost, and it completely just sucks you out of the kind of fun sponge mentality, and you're now in a better headspace because of it. And I think that's a massive positive of weightlifting.
Yeah, I really agree.
You have those sessions where you grind through and you're like, ugh. But then you have those sessions where you catch it and you're like, oh, like it's such a great thing.
It's so funny you make that noise.
Yeah, I also make that noise when I catch it and it's nice, and I'm like, oh.
I do the same when I'm coaching.
Yeah, do it, please.
It's like some weird, like, have sex noise going on in the corner, and everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? It's like, is that a good thing? Literally, they'll like look at me with the bar still above the head. I was like, is that a good noise or a bad noise? I was like, oh, you'll know about it if it's bad. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And I start throwing things, I get really into it. You know, I'm like smacking the rig, throwing PVC pipes. Like, oh no, I pissed him off. I was like, no, I'm fired up. That was sexy. Do it again.
There's a video, the one I was talking about earlier with Benedict in the background. Let's see if I can find it, where it's my coach, and it's when I miss it, and you just kind of watch him do like a burpee kind of thing. And he's just like, Rod literally just like, his celebrations for lifting are always top tier. Like, it's nice to have someone who wants it as much as I do. And I think that's why we work very, very well with it. But like that burpee thing that he did was just, oh, it's funny.
Sometimes you just got to move the body, man. You get fired up, you get into it.
Yeah. Oh God, it's so funny.
Oh, man. All right, I got 3 questions. We got 3 minutes before Ziggy gives me another fucking boot. Bastards. What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh wow. Okay. It was from a fellow lifter, and I was having a shit day. Things were out of my control, and he just turned to me and he went, "You just got a job to do. Just get on with it." And I have taken that with me. He was great. It wasn't a lot, but it was what I needed, and in that moment, I've taken it with me. It's that, just get on with it. Just get on with it.
That's so British, man. So fucking British.
Keep calm, just go on.
Yeah. That's the nation of that, right? Fucking bastards.
Repress everything.
What's the worst piece of life advice you ever received?
No one's gonna take you seriously if you're funny.
Ooh.
That was something that a teacher once told me. I've always used humor as a coping mechanism for anything.
Yeah, you and me both.
The idea that you need to be serious to be taken serious is such a crock of shit. It's such a crock of shit. It sucks the life out of things, and when there's no life in it, why would you even want to talk to that person?
I agree, man. I agree so much. I think comedy heals all wounds.
Yeah, I enjoy those eclectic, those kind of passionate people that make jokes and make you laugh, because it's a form of escapism, but it's also like it's relatable.
Yeah, man.
And that relatability is what helps form those relationships. And it's, if you haven't got that, it's what have you got?
100%. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah,
I'm exactly the same. 3 words you tell your younger self.
It'll be okay. And I think that's, like, having struggled with my weight as a kid, bullying, things like that, it'll just be okay. It won't always be okay, but it'll get better. And I'm not the kid I was then. I'm not ashamed of how I dealt with it as a kid, and the kind of self-esteem issues that came from it. But that was integral for me to being the person I am today. I'm grateful that younger Harry endured that, but it will get better, and just hang on, because great things are going to come. And that's kind of
fucking legend, man.
Why, thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Like, let me know when you lift.
Absolutely. Next comp is